Hey guys, it's Druid here, and in today's guide, I'll be going through PvE content. First, we'll quickly go through talents, then the rotation, next will be the artifact weapon talents and relics I would recommend. After that, I'll break down a mythic Northendra fight, and look at my positioning, and more importantly, decisions for us balanced druids to make during the fight. Finally, I'll wrap it up with a conclusion on how I feel balanced druids are overall in patch 7.1. So, firstly, the talents. I will run through the talents quickly, skip ahead if you want. I'll put some Heroic Emerald Nightmare in the background as I run through it all. So, level 15 I take Starlord, because it is a more impactful effect than Warrior of Elune, due to Warrior of Elune's long CD. Starlord helps get quick casts, which is vital. Also Solar and Lunar Empowerment should be up most of the time, making this talent even better. Level 30, it's more of a personal choice. I prefer Wild Charge, because of its shorter CD, and it doesn't take you out of Boomkin form. But in certain fights, such as Renfrill, Displacer Beast can be better, as it teleports you a longer distance, which is important from getting away from Renfrill's drop-down mechanic. Once again, level 45 is a personal choice, as they all have no DPS increase. I like to take Bear Affinity, as it means I take less DPS from boss abilities. Level 60 is also not important, as they're all forms of CC, which are only useful in trash. Level 75 is quite important. In my case, I always take Incarnation Chosen Balloon, because I have a legendary which combos well with it. In your case, I would also recommend you take Incarnation as the standard talent, as it is the best for most fights. If there is a 2-boss fight cleave, then Stellar Flare would be better. Sadly, there are no 2-boss cleave fights in Emerald. Soul of the Forest may be viable in Mythic Dungeons to help with AoE, but normally it is a below par talent. For level 90, I would recommend Blessing of the Ancients, because it is more consistent than Shooting Stars at generating extra astral power. Astral Communion has too long a CD to be viable in PvE. Shooting Stars is better than Blessing of the Ancients in an AoE fight. Bosses such as Ilgaroth is a fight I would take Shooting Stars, as you can dot up all the tentacles and generate lots of astral power from all the Sunfire and Moonfires you have on the targets. In the level 100 talent options, I would go with Nature's Balance, because it means you won't have to keep reapplying the Moonfires and Sunfires, which saves global cooldowns. And with enough haste, you only need to apply the dots once per fight. Fury of Elune is bad on a single target, as it drains so much astral power for little DPS. Also, Astral Drift is more for AoE, and I would only use that talent for large AoE mythic dungeons. Now that's the talents done, we can move on to the artifact weapon talents. As you can see on the screen, first of all I would take 3 points in Falling Star, and 1 point in Light of the Sun, as well as the 3 points in Touch of the Moon. While both Light of the Sun and Touch of the Moon both don't increase DPS, it allows us to take Power of Goldrin, which is a great damage buff to our Star Surges and is a vital trait. After that, I'd make my way towards the other golden trait, Moon and Stars. I'd pick up all 3 in Dark Side of the Moon, Twilight Glow, and Sunfire Burns to reach Moon and Stars. I leave out Empowerment, as even though it would have been a faster route, Empowerment isn't great. That 1 point you see in it was a misclick, and I haven't been bothered to refund it all. Next I would get Rapid Innervate, because the healers will love you. After that, I make sure I get all 3 in Scythe of Stars, then 3 in Solar Stabbing, and 1 in the final golden trait, Echo Stars. We get Echo Stars last out of the 3 golden traits, because Echo is more of a AoE trait, which isn't great in a single target raid boss. But on the other hand, if you're a person who will mainly be doing dungeon content, then you may want to consider getting Echo sooner, because dungeons have a large amount of AoE. Finally, get the 1 point in Sunblind and wrap it up with the last 3 in Bladed Feathers. Relics I would recommend in order of best to not as good are Scythe of the Stars, Sunfire Burns, Twilight Glow, Falling Stars, and Solar Stabbing. Now let's look at the rotation, but first there's a tip I'd like to recommend to help at the start of any fight to optimize our DPS, which is to have Full Moon ready for the pull of the fight. I'd recommend this because after you use Star Surge you'll gain a buff where your next Solar Wrath and Lunar Strike does significantly more damage. So in this first example, I don't get Full Moon ready, and this means, as you can see, I have to cast one Solar Wrath and one Lunar Strike, both which aren't buffed, before I can cast Star Surge and get the buffs rolling. In this next example, I do have my Full Moon ready, so I cast Full Moon, which instantly gives me enough Astral Power to cast Star Surge, and I get the buffs rolling right at the start, and I'm not casting any unbuffed Solar Wraths and Lunar Strikes, increasing my overall DPS. I'd like to say that no bosses involve just standing still and DPSing other than maybe Ursoc, so always consider movement in your rotation, and when the best times for movement is. This video is also slowed down to help us understand. First of all, I'll cast Incarnation Chosen of a Loon, as well as a Prolonged Power Potion. Then I'll cast Full Moon, as you can see, followed up by a Star Surge. Then dotting up the targets to keep those dots going. With that Star Surge, it gave me the empowerment buffs I need. And with those buffs, I can cast Solar Wrath and Lunar Strike, followed up by another Star Surge. These Star Surges will keep my empowerment buffs going, which allows me to keep those stronger Solar Wrath and Lunar Strikes going. While in Incarnation Chosen of a Loon, the general rotation is Solar Wrath, Lunar Strike, Star Surge, Solar Wrath, Lunar Strike, Star Surge. Always try to get your New Moon, Half Moon, and Full Moon charges weaved into that rotation as well, as it will increase DPS. While out of Incarnation Chosen of a Loon, that rotation will kind of change, because Solar Wrath and Lunar Strike will no longer be enough to generate enough Astral Power for a Star Surge. This is when it is important to use those New Moon, Half Moon, and Full Moon charges to fill in the gaps where you need missing Astral Power to generate those Star Surges. You never want to cast a Lunar Strike or a Solar Wrath without the empowerment buff, as it is a big DPS loss. Also, during the fight, consider your dots. With the talent Nature's Balance, which I recommended to you, you never really should have to reapply your dots. But sometimes you may need to reapply them. Keep those dots going on the target at all times, as they are super vital. Eventually, Incarnation Chosen of a Loon will come back off cooldown, and rinse and repeat. Hey guys, I'm sorry to say, but the Mythic fight breakdown will have to be saved for a different video, because I think we can all agree this video has gone on long enough. Thanks guys for watching, and remember to subscribe so you won't miss the Mythic raid breakdown when it comes out.